November 2025. France posts a photo on social media. Big smiles, handshakes, a ceremony in Gabon. The caption? France supports African security. The gift? 5 bicycles. 5. Not 500, not 50. 5 bicycles. For an entire country's police force. They actually posted this, proudly, like it was something to celebrate. I want you to keep that image in your head. 5 bicycles. Ceremony. Applause. Thank you, France. Now fast forward. February 2nd, 2026. Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. A 37-year-old captain walks into a ceremony. No French flags, no European officials. Just him, his ministers, and rows upon rows of brand new vehicles. 2,000 motorcycles. He hands the keys to his police chief and says 7 words. Protect our citizens. This is your mission. No long speech. No self-congratulation. 7 words. Done. But here is the part that broke the internet. The motorcycles have a name. Not a French name. Not an English name. A word from Gulman Sema, a language spoken in eastern Burkina Faso. YENTO. It means security. Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back. If you are new here, you just walked into the only channel that tells you what is actually happening in Africa. No spin, no propaganda, just facts. Before we go any further, I need you to do something. Type in the comments, how many bicycles did France give? I want to see if you were paying attention. Drop that number. And if you are feeling bold, tell me what your country's former colonizer has given you lately. Subscribe, bell, you know the drill. Let us get into it. So we have 2 images now. Image 1, France, 5 bicycles, big ceremony, we support Africa. Image 2, Traore, 2,000 motorcycles, 7 words, protect our citizens. 5 versus 2,000, 400 times more. But it is not just the numbers, it is everything else. Those French bicycles, they were probably made in France or China, shipped to Africa, branded with French logos, given in a ceremony designed to make France look generous. Those Burkinabe motorcycles, made specifically for Burkina Faso, branded with an African word, given without any foreign officials present, no strings attached. You see the difference? One is charity, the other is sovereignty. One says, here are some scraps, be grateful. The other says, we built this ourselves, for ourselves. And France noticed. Trust me, they noticed. Because here is what they do not want you to understand. Every time an African country does something without French help, it raises a question. A dangerous question. What do we need them for? If Burkina Faso can equip 2,000 police officers without France, why does Gabon need France for 5 bicycles? If Traoré can build a security force with local resources, why are other countries still begging for scraps? The question spreads, country to country, generation to generation, and that question is more dangerous to France than any army. Now let me show you something else. Pull up a map of Burkina Faso, 270,000 square kilometers, bigger than the UK, mostly rural, dirt roads, villages scattered across vast distances. Now imagine you are a police officer. Your job is to protect people, but you have no vehicle. Maybe you have a bicycle, if you are lucky. Maybe you walk. A crime happens 20 kilometers away. By the time you get there, if you get there, whoever did it is long gone. The village has been attacked. People are dead. This is not hypothetical. This is reality. Burkina Faso has been fighting an insurgency since 2015. Armed groups attack villages. They kill civilians. They disappear before anyone can respond. Now give that same officer a motorcycle. 20 kilometers? 15 minutes. Suddenly, you can respond. You can pursue. You can be there before the attackers escape. 2,000 motorcycles means 2,000 officers who can actually do their jobs. 2,000 villages that might get help in time. 2,000 chances to save lives. This is not about looking good for cameras. This is math. Distance divided by speed equals response time. Faster vehicles, faster response, more lives saved. Traore knows this. He spent years as a soldier in the north. He watched help arrive too late. He buried soldiers who died waiting for backup. When he gives motorcycles to police, he is not playing politics. He is solving a problem he personally experienced. But wait, it gets more interesting. Remember that word, YENTO? Let me tell you why that matters more than you think. For 60 years, African countries have been told that progress means becoming more European. Speak French, wear suits, use European products, give everything European names. The colonial powers did not just take land. They took identity. They made Africans ashamed of their own languages. So when Traore names police motorcycles with a word from Glumansema, a language that maybe 1 million people speak, he is making a statement. He is saying, our languages matter. Our identity matters. We do not need to be European to be modern. One word, YENTO. But it carries 60 years of resistance. Young Africans see this. They screenshot it. They share it. They say, finally, a leader who speaks our language. Not French, not the colonizer's tongue, ours. Okay, let me address something. Some of you are thinking, 2,000 motorcycles? Is that really a big deal? My city has more police cars than that. Fair question. Let me put it in context. Burkina Faso's GDP per capita is around $800. $800 per year per person. The country has been fighting a war for almost a decade. Budget is tight. Every dollar matters. In that context, 2,000 motorcycles is not a small purchase. It is a strategic investment. It is a government saying, security comes first, before luxury, before personal enrichment. Now compare that to what other African leaders spend money on. Equatorial Guinea's vice president? Investigated for owning a $35 million mansion in Malibu, a $38 million private jet, millions in Michael Jackson memorabilia. Cameroon's president? Lives in luxury hotels in Geneva for months at a time. His country's annual budget for healthcare is less than what he spends on hotel suites. Republic of Congo's president? Multiple private jets, mansions across Europe. His family's assets reportedly exceed $100 million. And then there is Traore. Same military uniform every day. Captain's salary. No known mansions. No private jets. Gives motorcycles to police instead of buying cars for himself. See the pattern? One type of leader extracts wealth from their country. The other type invests wealth into their country. 5 bicycles versus 2,000 motorcycles is not just about France and Burkina Faso. It is about 2 completely different models of leadership. Extraction versus investment. Taking versus giving. Colonialism versus sovereignty. Now here is something that just happened, and it changes everything. Days after Traoré gave those motorcycles, the IMF visited Burkina Faso, the International Monetary Fund, one of the most powerful financial institutions on earth. The same institution Traoré once said Africa does not need. And what did they say? The deputy managing director stood in Ouagadougou and said, Burkina Faso's economic resilience is commendable. Public finances are stabilizing. Reforms are advancing. He called Traoré's vision clear. He said the partnership is stronger than ever. Wait, the IMF is praising the guy who said Africa does not need the IMF? Yes, because results talk. Gold production hit 94 tons in 2025, historic record. Food self-sufficiency achieved for the first time. Infrastructure being built despite the war. You can criticize Traoré all you want. Call him authoritarian. Question his methods. Fair enough. But when even the IMF has to admit your economy is working, that means something. 5 bicycles get you a photo opportunity. 2,000 motorcycles get you IMF praise. Results versus optics. Real change versus performance. Let me tell you about something most people do not know. A few weeks before the motorcycles, Burkina Faso's prime minister gave 375 buses to the public transport company in Ouagadougou. Before that, Traoré gave armored vehicles to the military. Before that, military equipment for soldiers on the front lines. You see the pattern? Motorcycles for police, buses for citizens, weapons for soldiers. Not mansions for ministers, not jets for presidents, not Swiss bank accounts for the elite. Every purchase is functional. Every investment serves the public. Is this sustainable? Will it last? I cannot predict the future. But right now, in February 2026, there is a government in Africa that is spending money on its people instead of stealing from them. And that is news. That is a story. That is something worth paying attention to. Now, I know what some of you are going to say in the comments, but what about human rights? What about democracy? What about the journalists who have been silenced? Fair questions, real concerns. Political parties in Burkina Faso have been dissolved. Elections postponed. Critics have faced consequences. I am not going to pretend these issues do not exist. They do. But let me ask you something. Burkina Faso is at war. Actual war. People dying every day. Territory lost to insurgents. Existence threatened. In that context, is it possible that some restrictions are necessary? Is it possible that wartime is different from peacetime? I am not saying Traoré is right about everything. I am saying the situation is more complicated than Western headlines suggest. And I am also saying this. Whatever his flaws, whatever his methods, the man is spending money on protecting his people. 2,000 motorcycles is not the action of someone trying to loot a country. It is the action of someone trying to save it. History will judge whether he succeeded, whether the costs were worth it, whether he was hero or villain. But right now, he is doing something different. Something that makes France nervous. Something that makes other African leaders uncomfortable. Something that makes young Africans hopeful. Let me paint a picture for you. It is 2 a.m. A village in northern Burkina Faso. Families sleeping. Gunshots. Armed men on motorcycles surround the village. They have done this before. They know no help is coming. The nearest police station is 50 kilometers away. By the time anyone responds, they will be gone. This has happened hundreds of times. Thousands of people dead. Millions displaced. Villages burned. This is not a movie. This is Tuesday in the Sahel. Now imagine the same scenario. Same village, same armed men. But this time, a police patrol on YENTO motorcycles is 15 kilometers away. They hear the radio call. 15 minutes later, they arrive. Maybe too late to stop everything, but early enough to pursue, to identify, to save some lives. One response time multiplied by 2,000 motorcycles across 270,000 square kilometers. This is not symbolism. This is strategy. And France? What is France's strategy? 5 bicycles. You cannot chase armed men on motorcycles with a bicycle. You cannot respond to emergencies across vast distances with a bicycle. You cannot protect anyone with a bicycle. France knows this. They are not stupid. So why 5 bicycles? Because it was never about helping. It was about appearing to help. About maintaining the image of partnership while doing nothing that actually changes the power dynamic. Give them just enough to seem generous, never enough to be independent. This is the colonizer playbook. 60 years old, still running. But Traore read that playbook, and he threw it in the trash. Okay, here is something wild. Pull up your phone. Go to social media. Search Traore motorcycles. Look at the comments. Not from Europe, not from America, from Africa. Nigerians saying, "Why can't our leaders do this?" Ghanaians saying, "This is what we need." Kenyans saying, "Send Traore to fix our country." South Africans saying, "We have billions and nothing to show." This is the ripple effect. One country does something different. The whole continent sees it. Suddenly, everyone is asking questions. Why can Burkina Faso, one of the poorest countries on earth, equip their police better than countries with oil, with diamonds, with massive budgets? Where is our money going? This question is spreading fast, and every government that has been stealing from their people is getting nervous, because now there is a comparison, a visible alternative, a leader who actually invests in his country. 5 bicycles was not supposed to go viral. 2,000 motorcycles was. The contrast is too stark, the message too clear. And France cannot delete this from the internet, cannot spin it, cannot explain it away. 5 versus 2,000. Everyone can count. Let me tell you something about the man behind this. Ibrahim Traore was not born into power, not connected to any dynasty, not groomed by foreign governments. He grew up in Bondokwi, a village most people have never heard of, in western Burkina Faso. His teachers described him as quiet, studious, nothing special on the surface. He went to university, studied geology, not politics, not military strategy, rocks. Then he joined the army. Not because he wanted power, because his country was being attacked. People from villages like his were dying. He fought in the north. Real combat. Real death. He watched friends die. He carried bodies. He buried soldiers. When he took power in September 2022, he was 34 years old. A captain. Not a general. Not a politician. A captain who had spent years in the mud fighting. This is important. Because when this man gives motorcycles to police, he is not doing it because someone told him it would look good. He is doing it because he personally knows what it means to wait for help that never comes. He remembers the villages, the attacks, the radio calls, the silence. He remembers arriving too late. So now he is making sure others can arrive on time. That is not politics. That is trauma transformed into policy. 5 bicycles come from an office in Paris, from someone who has never been to Burkina Faso, never seen a village attacked, never buried anyone. 2,000 motorcycles come from a man who has. There is a difference, and you can feel it. Now, quick reality check. I am not saying Traore is perfect. Nobody is perfect. And there are legitimate concerns. The dissolution of political parties, the restrictions on press, the postponed elections. These are real issues. But here is my question. When was the last time you saw a Western news report about the motorcycles? About YENTO? About the investment in police? About the IMF praising the economy? You did not, because that does not fit the narrative. The narrative is, African military leader bad, democracy good. End of story. But reality is messier. A country at war making hard choices. A leader with flaws who is also doing some things right. You can hold both ideas in your head. Criticism of the restrictions and acknowledgement of the investments. Western media cannot. It only gives you one side. I am giving you the full picture. Decide for yourself. Let me hit you with some numbers real quick. January 2026. 375 buses delivered to public transport. October 2025, armored personnel carriers to the military. February 2026, 2,000 motorcycles to police. Gold production in 2025, 94 tons, record high. Food self-sufficiency, achieved for the first time. 2,000 VDP volunteers integrated into the regular army. You see what is happening? This is not one gesture. This is a pattern. Systematic investment in public capacity, buses, motorcycles, weapons, equipment, infrastructure. Not speeches, not promises, deliveries. And every delivery is documented, photographed, published. Because Traore understands something that most politicians do not. In the age of social media, actions are content. Every motorcycle handed over is a video. Every bus delivered is a post. Every weapon given to soldiers is proof. You cannot fake 2,000 motorcycles. You cannot Photoshop a bus fleet. You cannot make up a record gold production. The receipts are there. The evidence is visible. The pattern is clear. Meanwhile, other leaders are still giving speeches about what they will do. Someday. Eventually. Trust me. Actions versus words. Receipts versus promises. This is why young Africans share Traoré content obsessively. Because they are tired of promises. They want proof. And 2,000 YENTO motorcycles are proof. Here is my prediction. In 5 years, we will look back at this moment. At the motorcycles, at YENTO, at the comparison with France, and we will see it as a turning point. Not because Burkina Faso solved all its problems. It has not. Not because Traoré is a perfect leader. He is not. But because something shifted. A belief changed. For 60 years, African countries believed they needed Europe, needed France, needed the colonizers to help them. Traoré is proving they do not. And once that belief dies, once Africans truly believe they can do it themselves, nothing will be the same. 5 bicycles is the old Africa, waiting for scraps, grateful for crumbs. 2,000 motorcycles is the new Africa, building for itself, naming things in its own language, moving forward without permission. This is bigger than Burkina Faso, bigger than one man. This is a continent waking up, and you are watching it in real time. All right, let me bring this home. February 2nd, 2026, Ouagadougou, a ceremony. No foreign officials, just Burkinabe. 2,000 motorcycles lined up, brand new, ready to serve. A 37-year-old president in military uniform hands over the keys. 7 words. Protect our citizens. This is your mission. The motorcycles are called YENTO. Security, in a language that France never bothered to learn. Meanwhile, somewhere on the internet, a photo still exists. France, Gabon, November 2025. 5 bicycles, big smiles. 5 versus 2,000. Charity versus sovereignty. Words versus action. That is the difference. That is the story. That is why millions of young Africans are paying attention. So here is my question to you. What would you rather have? A colonizer who gives you 5 bicycles and expects gratitude? Or a leader who gives your police 2,000 motorcycles and says, do your job? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear it. And if this video showed you something new, something the mainstream media is not telling you, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, share. Not for me, for the algorithm. The more people see this, the more the truth spreads. We are building something here. A community that sees Africa clearly. The good, the bad, the complicated. No propaganda, no spin, just reality. Thank you for watching. Thank you for thinking. 5 bicycles, 2,000 motorcycles. YENTO. Remember those numbers. Remember that word. Because Africa is changing, and you are watching it happen. Until next time.